songs that you just streamed off your new project, White Man. Say that shit ain't dope. The comments crazy. And then Kai Cenat, shout out to Kai Cenat. He kept it real. They said Kai said that shit was ass.
Rick Ross just called Drake washed on Instagram, and this happened just hours after Drake put his name in a bar on a brand new album. That's not a coincidence. That's war. On May 15th, 2026, Drake dropped 3 albums in a single night. Iceman, Habibi, and Maid of Honor. 43 songs, 0 warning, and 1 message. I'm here to collect. Rick Ross in the crosshairs, DJ Khaled got smoked, Drake pulled up on LeBron James in front of everybody, ASAP Rocky got told off letter by letter on wax, J. Cole got dismissed as the married rapper, Jay-Z got clowned with a $500,000 cash line, Kendrick Lamar's entire legacy got attacked across multiple tracks, and DeMar DeRozan, a man Toronto called their own, got thrown in the trash too. Every single person on that list either crossed Drake, flipped sides, or stayed silent when they were supposed to ride. Drake remembered all of it, receipts, timestamps, everything. And on May 15th, he handed everybody their bill. This is the full breakdown of who got dissed, exactly what was said and how they reacted, because some clapped back and some went dead silent, and both of those things tell a story you need to hear. Now let me set the scene, because the way this drop happened was a different type of move. May 15th, 2026, Drake hosts a massive live stream in Toronto, the whole city buzzing, fireworks going off outside for what people thought was just a private video shoot. Nobody knew what was really coming. Then the live stream wraps and boom, 3 albums, 43 songs, all hitting every streaming platform at the exact same time. No rollout, no teased features, no warm-up singles, just raw product dropped on the culture, like a piano off a rooftop. The internet had no idea what to do with itself. Within minutes, and I mean minutes, fans were already picking through every lyric line by line, because Drake had been sitting on these grievances since the 2024 Kendrick Lamar war. He took the L publicly. He watched former allies flip. He watched people he built with, toured with, made hits with stand on the other side of the line. Now the Iceman had receipts for everybody. This isn't just an album. This is a trial, and Drake is the prosecutor, the judge, and the executioner all in one. To understand why Drake went at Rick Ross the way he did, you have to go back to 2024. These two men built an empire together, Aston Martin Music, Stay Scheming, Money in the Grave, over a decade of stacking wins as the Miami Boss and the Toronto Prince. Then Kendrick dropped Not Like Us, and the whole industry had to pick a side. Rick Ross picked Kendrick, and not quietly. He dropped Champagne Moments, a full diss record aimed directly at Drake, got loud on social media, and showed out for the other team. Drake watched his former partner walk across the line like it meant nothing. That kind of betrayal doesn't get forgotten. So on Make Them Pay, Drake delivered his invoice with a bar so surgical the internet froze, basically saying he was the reason Ross had stream support, that he propped up his career, activated his fan base, and pushed his records. And now Ross was just a name as random and irrelevant as a Twitch streamer. Cold-blooded. And Ross, he was ready. Within hours of the drop, Ross was live on Instagram going full scorched earth, scrolling through fan comments defending Drake and firing back. Let's leave little man alone now. He dropped 3 mid-projects. It was fun while it lasted. You're washed. And he didn't stop there. Ross posted a direct comparison between Drake's album title and his own upcoming project, Set in Stone, dropping June 12th. The message was, "Ice cold, Iceman melted. Stone lasts forever." That's not just a reaction, that's a full campaign. Ross is already framing his response album as The Burial. He even told Page 6, "It's always diss tracks, that competitive spirit is what made hip-hop what it was." Then he turned his fire on podcasters Rory and Mal, accusing them of heavy Drake glazing and saying the entire media machine around Drake exists to shield him from real criticism. And here's what makes it even crazier: before the album even dropped, Ross went on Hot 97 with Nessa and said publicly, Don't nobody fear Drake's album release. Nobody. He had his war face on before the first song even played. Drake dropped anyway. Ross barked back in the same news cycle. This beef is nowhere. Near Over Ross has a full album of diss tracks locked and loaded, and the summer of 2026 is about to become a war zone. Now, the DJ Khaled disc hit completely different, because this one wasn't about violence or money or betrayal in the traditional sense. This was about something that cuts deeper in street politics silence when your people were under fire. Khaled and Drake had a real relationship. They built anthems together. Khaled always called Drake when he needed a record to go crazy. But during the 2024 Kendrick beef, one of the most publicized rap wars in history, Khaled vanished. No public support, no acknowledgement, nothing. He just faded into the background, and Drake called it exactly that on Make Them Pay. Firing that, Khaled used his faith as cover to dodge loyalty when it actually cost something, and then twisting the knife by pointing out that Khaled is selective about when he chooses to stand up vocal about some causes, completely silent when Drake needed him. That's not just a diss, that's a character assassination. And Khaled's response? Total silence. No Instagram, no statement, nothing, which, considering how loudly Khaled normally moves through the world, says absolutely everything. Then came the one that genuinely shocked people, LeBron James. Drake and LeBron had been P's jersey number and calling out his authenticity at the same time, saying the team-switching narrative goes way beyond basketball, it's about character. The arena bar wasn't about stadiums, it was about the arena of public opinion. The cultural battlefield where Drake felt LeBron always moved with the wind. And on National Treasures, Drake went even further, taking direct shots at LeBron's basketball legacy in Toronto, questioning why the city ever believed he could deliver them a championship and making it personal for every Toronto fan who watched. LeBron come through and leave. Drake tied LeBron directly to Toronto's broken basketball dreams, and for Toronto fans who watched him play in their city and then walk, that bar landed like a knife. LeBron hasn't responded publicly, but that's no surprise. LeBron lets lawyers handle beefs, not tweets. Still, the silence is loud. When the biggest rapper in Canada calls the biggest basketball player in the world a snake and gets nothing back, people notice. Now, we cannot talk about this album without getting into ASAP Rocky, because this one has been building for years and it runs way deeper than rap. The tension between Drake and Rocky has always had Rihanna sitting right in the middle of it. Drake and Rihanna had an on-and-off situationship for years. Then Rocky and Rihanna got together, built a family, had kids, and the internet never stopped connecting those dots. Drake put that energy directly on wax. On Burning Bridges, he snapped clocking that Rihanna, Rocky's actual baby mother, never even posted his music on her social media. In celebrity world, that's a public statement. And Drake weaponized it. But that wasn't even the wildest part. On Firm Friends, Drake went full nuclear, spelling out Rocky's name letter by letter inside the insult. No subliminal, no coded message. Just a direct, undeniable, name-on-record shot. Drake wanted zero debate about who he was talking about. Rocky hasn't formally responded, but at this level of public aggression, something has to give. Now, J. Cole, one of the most respected rappers alive, but in 2024, he made a decision the streets have never forgiven. When the Kendrick-Drake beef exploded, Cole dropped 7-minute drill, and fans went crazy thinking the Big Three war was on. Then Cole pulled the record, apologized, stepped back, and delivered a peace speech on a festival stage while Kendrick was still actively throwing grenades. The streets called it what it was, a tap-out. Drake remembered Dublicly Cool for years. Running the same circles, hitting the same events, the Toronto-Cleveland-LA connection was real. LeBron had been to OVO Fest. These two looked like genuine friends. So when Drake slid a bar at LeBron on Make Them Remember, saying he shouldn't even be surprised to see him in that arena because he built his whole career off switching teams, the internet completely lost its mind. Then Drake doubled down with a 23andMe reference hitting LeBron. On Make Them Pay and Make Them Remember, he made it clear he could have fallen back like the married rapper, but he stayed engaged. He positioned himself as the soldier who didn't run, using Cole's exit as a direct character contrast. I stood. You didn't. No response from Cole yet, but this is J. Cole. When he does respond, it won't be rushed. It'll be calculated, and it'll be cold. Now let's be clear. Going at Jay-Z takes a level of confidence most rappers simply don't have. Jay-Z is not just a rapper. He's an institution. But Drake has been feeling a certain type of way about Jay-Z's silence and positioning during the beef, and on Iceman he made it known, firing at Jay-Z and the entire older generation of rap royalty. He feels stayed quiet or worked against him when it mattered. Then on Whisper. My Name, Drake referenced one of the internet's most famous hypothetical debates. Would you rather have dinner with Jay-Z or take $500,000 cash, and answered it himself on wax. He'd take the cash because he never learned anything. From any of them anyway. That's Drake publicly telling the world that Jay-Z's mentorship and wisdom mean absolutely nothing to him. 5 years ago, that bar would have been career suicide. Now Drake is throwing it like it costs him nothing, and that's completely intentional. He wants the reaction. He wants people talking. He wants to prove he fears nobody. And on top of that, Drake dropped a line about 100 million streams, vanishing with nobody asking questions. Fans immediately connected that to the Spotify streaming controversies that swirled around Drake's team during the Kendrick beef, pointing a finger directly at Jay-Z's circles and saying the media refuses to ask the right questions. Jay-Z hasn't responded. He famously doesn't move fast. But if Drake fully lights that fuse with a direct bars assault on Hov, that becomes an entirely different conversation. Let's be crystal clear. The Kendrick disc is not a chapter in this album. It is the entire spine of it. Every person Drake came at either contributed to his public L against Kendrick or failed to stop it. This album is one long piece of evidence that Drake has not accepted the verdict. On Dust, he came for Kendrick's entire catalog, questioning whether he ever had real slaps, then going straight at his audience base, calling the community work performative, handing out turkeys on camera, then going home to a mansion in the hills. Fake consciousness. Drake is saying Kendrick is a constructed character, a manufactured image of hood authenticity that crumbles under real scrutiny. Then, on 1 a.m. in Albany, he went at Kendrick's height, again referencing Muggsy Bogues at 5'3", with zero ambiguity about the implication. He also flipped Kendrick's own viral braids moment back on him directly and addressed the Not Like Us victory by referencing the caged owl Kendrick used in the video to symbolize Drake's defeat, firing back that the owl never sees the cage. The owl only wakes up to seize the day. He is flat out refusing to accept the L, rewriting the narrative in real time across multiple tracks. And Drake didn't stop at the big names. DeMar DeRozan, the former Toronto Raptor who was supposed to be a city icon, got caught in the National Treasures commentary about people who came through Toronto and delivered nothing, with Drake essentially saying the city was fooled into believing DeRozan could bring them glory. Then there's Mustard, the producer who handed Kendrick the beat that became the anthem of Drake's public humiliation. On Too Hard, Drake reminded Mustard that his biggest cultural moment before Not Like Us was Rack City in 2012, and that Drake and YG built his name long before Kendrick ever showed up. He's pulling credits back and erasing the debt. And Fivio Foreign got caught in the crossfire, too. Drake's lines about Virginia and chains were widely read as shots at Fivio, who has been deep in Jay-Z's Rock Nation orbit, and Drake is making it clear he noticed whose side he picked. Zoom out for a second, because what Drake did on May 15, 2026 has genuinely never been done in rap before. 43 songs, 3 albums, 1 night, all aimed at reasserting dominance after the most public defeat of his career.
On May 15th, Drake releases 3 albums, Iceman, Maid of Honor, and Habibi, totaling 43 tracks. And fans online quickly start connecting the dots on who might be catching strays across the project.
He didn't go quiet. He didn't retreat. He came back swinging at everyone simultaneously, former friends, former collaborators, a sports legend, and his biggest rival, all in the same breath. And the reactions are already rolling in. Rick Ross called him washed and promised diss tracks in June. The internet is split right down the middle, half the culture saying Drake overextended, half saying this is exactly the energy they needed from him. Kendrick hasn't responded. Jay-Z hasn't responded. LeBron hasn't responded. And that silence from the big names? That's part of the story, too. Here's the real tea. Drake might have missed on some bars and landed on others. But the fact that he touched everybody tells you exactly where his head is at. He kept score for 2 years. He documented every single dagger. And when he finally got back in the studio, he didn't make a comeback album. He made a court filing. The question now is who responds. Ross has already signaled June 12th. If Cole, Kendrick, or Jay-Z pick up the pen, this summer becomes the most active beef season in hip-hop history. And Drake already pulled the trigger. Ice melts, they say. But right now, the temperature in the culture just dropped to 0. But let's keep it completely real. This isn't just about Drake winning or losing. This is about what this moment means for hip-hop as a whole. And that conversation runs deeper than bars. Think about the psychology of what Drake just did. This man watched himself get turned into a meme. He watched Not Like Us play at the Super Bowl halftime show. He watched Kendrick Lamar collect trophies on stages all over the world that used to have Drake's name on them. He watched people he funded, people he put on, people who ate at his table stand in the crowd cheering for the man who publicly clowned him. 2 years of that. And instead of coming back with one clean, focused diss record like everybody expected, he dropped 43 songs and hit everybody at once. That's not a rap move. That's a psychological operation. Drake isn't just trying to win the beef, he's trying to flood the zone, to make it impossible for any single response to land clean because there are too many fronts open at the same time. Think about it. If Kendrick responds, Drake already has 10 other active beefs running as cover. If Ross responds in June, it gets framed as just one of many ongoing wars rather than the war. The volume of the drop is the strategy. The chaos is the entire point, and that's exactly where the commentary is getting it wrong. A lot of people online are saying Drake spread himself too thin, that dissing 15 people at once dilutes the impact of every bar. And yeah, to a certain degree, that critique is fair. The bars aimed at LeBron don't hit as hard when they're sitting next to shots at Mustard and DeMar DeRozan on the same tape. The Kendrick disses lose urgency when they're competing